everyone. This is my mom.
She stood in the doorway of that gala and heard her own daughter give her away. Not to kidnappers, not to strangers, to a shinier woman, a woman with softer hands. This is my mom. 3 words. And 16 years of dawn shifts, bus rides, and sacrifice were erased, while the real mother stood 20 feet away, holding the folder her daughter forgot at home. The glamorous woman smiled and played along. Why wouldn't she? Everyone always wanted to be Vivian Duru. And Ngozi? Ngozi didn't shout, didn't cry, didn't say a word. She set the folder down where her daughter would find it and walked back out into the night. Chapped hands, work clothes, and a secret that would have silenced that entire ballroom. Because here is what nobody under those chandeliers knew. Every month for 6 years, a plain brown envelope had arrived at that school before sunrise. No name, no note. The school called their donor an angel. They had never met her. She washed hospital sheets for a living. Her daughter was ashamed of her hands. She had no idea what those hands had built. And the glittering woman she'd borrowed for a mother? 3 missed payments from losing everything. Gold doesn't always shine, and everything that shines isn't gold. This is the story of a girl who learned the difference in front of everyone she was trying to impress, and what it cost her to earn back the one word she gave away. Stay with me and subscribe, because when this school finally learns whose hands held it up, you'll want to be in the room. To understand that doorway, you have to meet the woman who stood in it, and you have to meet her at 4 in the morning. That was when Ngozi Easy's day began, in the dark, in a bus shelter on the south side of Atlanta, while the city that would later judge her was still asleep. 3 office buildings before 6. Floors, glass, bins. Her own little cleaning business, built 1 client at a time over 6 years. Then the bus across town to the hospital, where from 7 to 4 she washed other people's sheets. Sheets from the maternity ward. Sheets from the rooms where people said goodbye. She treated them all the same. Clean. Folded. Dignified. Her hands told the whole story. Chapped at the knuckles. Strong at the grip. Every night she worked cocoa butter into them from a little tin on her nightstand, and every morning the work took it back. She had been a widow for 11 years. Her husband, Chidi, had lived long enough to see their daughter take her first steps, and not 1 step more. Amara was 16 now. Brilliant. The kind of brilliant that gets noticed. A full scholarship to Westbrook Academy, the most prestigious private school in the city, where the parking lot at pickup looked like a luxury car showroom, and the mothers wore sunglasses the price of Ngozi's monthly rent. And here is where the story gets complicated, because Amara loved her mother. At home, in their small apartment, they were easy together. "Taste this," Ngozi would say on Sundays, holding out the wooden spoon. "Needs more pepper." "It doesn't need more pepper. Your tongue is broken." "Mummy, it's Yolof. It always needs more pepper." And they would laugh, and the small kitchen would feel like the warmest room in Atlanta. The love was real. The shame lived somewhere else. It lived at the school gate. You see, Amara had watched what happened to kids like her. There was a boy in her year, a scholarship boy like her, whose father came to open day in his security guard uniform. He hadn't had time to change. The group chat found out by lunch. "Did you see the hat?" "Sir, please, step away from the canapes, sir. I can't breathe." He saluted Mr. Pierce. For 1 week, that uniform was the funniest thing at Westbrook Academy. They never let the boy forget it. He ate alone now. Amara took that lesson the way frightened people take lessons. Not, they were cruel. But never let them see. So when the girls asked what her mother did, Amara said, "Healthcare," and changed the subject. Healthcare like a surgeon, or healthcare like admin. It's boring. Anyway, did you finish the chem thing? When her mother offered to come to school events, Amara found reasons. Parents' evening is really just for the kids who are struggling, Mummy. You'd be bored. I've never once been bored of you. I know, it's fine. I'll bring the report home. And once, just once, she told herself. When the popular girls were near the gate and her mother waved from the bus stop across the road, Amara turned her face away and pretended not to see her. Ngozi saw her pretend. She never mentioned it. But a mother knows the exact temperature of her child's eyes, and something in them had gone cold at that gate. What Amara wanted was simple, and if you have ever been 16, you will understand it. She did not want to be laughed at. She wanted to belong. She just never asked herself what belonging would cost, or who would pay for it. And there was so much she didn't know. She didn't know about the plain brown envelope. Every month, before sunrise, before even the caretaker arrived, a woman in work clothes slipped an envelope under the door of the Westbrook front office. Cash. No name. No note. It had been happening for 6 years. The school called it the Hardship Fund. 40 students, kids whose families hit a bad year, a lost job, a hospital bill, stayed in their classrooms because of that envelope. At every gala, the headmistress raised a toast to our anonymous angel. The wealthy mothers would smile and glance at each other, each quietly letting the room wonder if it was her. Not one of them ever guessed that their angel rode the first bus of the morning and smelled faintly of industrial detergent. Only one person knew. Mrs. Hale, the headmistress, had caught her at the door 3 years in. Ngozi had frozen like a girl caught stealing, envelope half under the door. "So it's you," Mrs. Hale had said quietly. "6 years, I've wondered. Do you know what people imagine? Hedge funds. Old money. Please." Ngozi straightened up slowly. "Please, Ma. No name. Not ever. You won't even take a thank you. Why? People give to be seen. Because the day you put my name on it," Ngozi said, "is the day someone tells my daughter she didn't earn her place. She earned it. Every mark she earned. Let the money stay nobody's." Mrs. Hale had looked at her for a long moment. "You know what you are, Mrs. Ease. You're the only person at this school with nothing to prove." That was the mother Amara was ashamed of. And then there was the mother she wanted. Vivian Duru. You saw her before you met her. The white Range Rover, the silk, the nails, the laugh that made a circle form. Her daughter Kimi was Amara's best friend, and the Duru mansion in Buckhead was everything Amara's apartment wasn't. Marble, chandeliers, a fridge with a screen in it. "Your house is insane," Amara whispered the first time. Kemi shrugged the shrug of someone who has never carried a mop bucket. "It's just a house." It wasn't just a house. It was a life, and Amara started visiting it. Homework first, then dinners, then studying the way Vivian walked, talked, entered a room. "Darling, posture," Vivian would say, sweeping past with a glass of something cold. Rooms belong to the people who stand like they own them. Amara stood straighter. She was a very good student. What Amara couldn't see, what nobody at that school could see, was that the Duru mansion was a stage set. The marble was mortgaged. The silk was on credit. Behind the double doors, the phone calls had started. First the banks, then the lawyers, then men who didn't leave names. And late at night, voices through the wall Kemi pretended not to hear. "You said it was handled, Tunde." "It is handled. Lower your voice." The school called about the fees. The school, Tunde. Do you know what happens to me if I said lower your voice? Glitter, you see, is not gold. Glitter is what glass does when the light hits it right. The gala came in October. The Westbrook Autumn Gala. Black tie, an auction table, a jazz trio, the annual toast to the anonymous angel. Amara was presenting her science project. She had won the district prize. and for weeks, she had managed her two worlds like a spy running two passports. Her mother worked Friday nights. Perfect. Vivian had offered to take her with Kemi. Perfect. What she didn't plan for was her mother's heart, because Ngozi had swapped her Friday shift the moment she heard the word presentation. "You didn't have to do that," Amara said, and there was more alarm in it than gratitude. 16 years I have not missed a milestone. I'm not starting with the biggest one. "It's really not a big deal, Mummy. It's just, it'll be so boring, all speeches. Then I will be bored next to my daughter." Ngozi smiled. "I'll come after the offices. I'll wear the green dress. You won't even recognize me." That sentence would keep Amara awake for months afterward. "You won't even recognize me." Then, at 9 that morning, Ngozi found the folder. The whole presentation, printed, color-tabbed, forgotten on the kitchen table. There was no time to go home and change and still make it. There was only time to go. So she went as she was, work polo, comfortable shoes, chapped hands, because in the mathematics of a mother, her daughter's project outweighed her own dignity without a second's thought. She arrived at the doorway of that glittering ballroom at the exact moment a silver-haired mother from the auction committee bent toward Amara. "Your project was extraordinary, sweetheart. And which one is your mum? I must say, congratulations." Amara's eyes went to the door. Maybe she saw her mother. Maybe she only saw the work, polo, the shoes, the hands, and every laughing lunch table she had ever feared. The arithmetic she had been running for 2 years finally tipped. She turned toward the silk and the perfume beside her. "This is my mum." One heartbeat. Vivian's eyebrows rose a fraction, and then the spotlight did what spotlights do to a woman like Vivian Duru. She laughed her circle-forming laugh and set a manicured hand on Amara's shoulder. "Isn't she just the most brilliant thing? We're so proud." "Oh, you must be. District prize. You know she has your smile." "Doesn't she just," said Vivian Duru. Somebody raised a glass. And for 1 hour, one glowing, borrowed hour, Amara Ease was exactly who she had always wanted to be. Among. 20 feet away, her mother stood very still. There is a specific kind of quiet that comes over a person whose heart is breaking in public. Ngozi did not make a scene. Scenes were for people who could afford them. She walked to the trophy table at the side of the hall, set the folder down where her daughter would find it, looked once, just once, at the girl she had built her whole life around, and walked back out into the night. On the last bus home, she sat with her hands in her lap and turned them over slowly, as if reading them. Gold that glitters for strangers, she thought, is so often glass. And the gold that's real gets left at the door. She didn't cry until she was inside her own apartment. And Amara never knew. That was the worst part in the weeks that followed. Not a confrontation, the absence of one. Amara found the folder on the trophy table, and her stomach dropped through the floor of the world. She rehearsed apologies the whole way home, felt them turn to ash, and walked in to find Ngozi at the stove, calm. "How did it go?" It went fine. Good. They liked it." "They loved it," Ngozi corrected gently, stirring. "Of course they did. You left your folder. Lucky somebody turned it in." Amara stood in the doorway of the kitchen, and the apology climbed all the way to her teeth. She looked at her mother's back, at the steam, at the small tin of cocoa butter waiting on the counter by the sink. "Yeah," she said. "Lucky." The kindness was unbearable, and Amara, being 16, being frightened, did what frightened people do with unbearable things. She buried it. She told herself she'd fix it someday, some vague day, and in the meantime, the lie at school hardened into furniture. "Your mum's so glamorous," A girl sighed at lunch, watching Vivian glide through the pickup line. "You're literally so lucky." Amara's smile did not reach her eyes. "Yeah, so lucky." It was easier. For now. If those words sound familiar, they should. Every disaster in this story starts with someone choosing easier, for now. The cracks in the Duru glass appeared quietly at first. A school payment that bounced and was hurriedly resent. A fundraiser pledge that never arrived. Vivian's laugh, a half note higher than before. Kimmy coming to school with yesterday's tiredness under her eyes. "You okay?" Amara asked her once in the library. Kemi looked at her for a second too long. "Do you ever feel like your whole life is a room and someone's slowly taking the furniture out while you sleep?" "What?" "Nothing." Kemi smiled the family smile. "I'm fine. We're fine. We're always fine." Then, one Tuesday in February, the glass simply shattered. It happened the way it always happens now. Everyone's phone lit up at once. News vans at the Buckhead mansion, federal investigators on the lawn, Mr. Duru in the doorway in a beautiful suit and handcuffs, and men carrying boxes out of the house that everyone at Westbrook had envied for a decade. The fraud was enormous. Other families' money, some of it belonging to parents at that very school. And Westbrook Academy did what it had done to the boy with the security guard father. It fed. "Oh my God, oh my God, check the news. My dad says he lost 6 figures with them. It's just a house. Girl, it's just evidence now." Vivian Duru's name went from perfume to poison in a single afternoon. Kemi was gone from school by Friday. Withdrawn, vanished, the mansion dark behind its gates. Amara grieved for her friend. That was real. But grief had company. Because within a day, the screenshots surfaced, as they always do. Amara at the gala, beaming under Vivian's manicured hand. The caption from a committee mother's post. Vivian Duru and her lovely daughters. Her lovely daughters. Wait. Isn't that the scholarship girl? She said Vivian was her mum? Imagine being so ashamed of your family you borrow a criminal's. Didn't her actual mum, clean or something? I'd take a cleaner over a fraud, be so serious. The belonging she had purchased with 3 words was repossessed with interest in front of everyone overnight. The girls she'd wanted so badly turned their faces away from her at the gate. The exact gesture she had once aimed at a woman at a bus stop. The glitter was gone. And in the wreckage, Amara discovered what was left standing. Her mother. 4 in the morning. Chapped hands. Still there. Still hers. Amara came home that Friday and broke. At the kitchen table, the whole thing pouring out of her like something lanced. I said it. At the gala. When the woman asked, I pointed at Vivian and I said, "This is my mum." And you were there. You heard it. I know you heard it. And you never said anything. And that's worse, Mummy. The not saying is so much worse. Breathe. They would have laughed at you. That's the whole reason. That's the whole stupid reason. There's a boy. His dad came in his security uniform, and they never let him forget it. And I watched it happen, and I swore they'd never get to do it to you. To me. I don't even know anymore. I just wanted to be one of them. For 1 hour, I wanted to know what it felt like. And what did it feel like? The question was so quiet, it stopped her mid-sob. Like wearing someone else's coat, Amara whispered. Warm. And nothing in the pockets was mine. Ngozi listened the way she folded sheets. Completely. Without hurry. And when it was done, she took her daughter's face in those 2 chapped hands. And she was gentle. And she was honest. And the honesty was the hard part. Look at me. You are my daughter. That was never in question. Whether I was your mother, that was your question. And you answered it in a ballroom, in front of everyone. I take it back. I take all of it back. Words like that don't wash out because you're crying, Amara. They wash out slowly, with work. Then tell me what to do. Please. I'll do anything. No. Ngozi shook her head, soft as closing a door. That's the thing about this one. I've done 16 years of the work. This part is yours to figure out. Some mothers would have hugged the guilt away that night. Ngozi loved her daughter too much for that. Cheap forgiveness, she knew, teaches a child that words cost nothing. And she had not raised her daughter to be a person whose words cost nothing. Spring came, and with it, 2 announcements. The first, Mrs. Hale, headmistress of Westbrook Academy for 22 years, was retiring at the end of term. The scholarship ceremony in May would be her last. The second was made only to a woman in a hospital laundry room over the hiss of the presses. I'm leaving, Ngozi, which means for the first time in 6 years, I don't need your permission to have a conscience. 40 children. I am not walking out of that school, letting them toast an empty chair. Ma, we agreed. You made a frightened headmistress agree. You're dealing with a retired one now. Retired women, Mrs. E's, are extremely dangerous. We have nothing left to lose, and a lifetime of things we should have said. She put her hand briefly over Ngozi's chapped one. This time, I'm not asking. The ceremony fell on a warm evening in May. The same hall, the same families, the chandeliers, the programs, the polite applause. Amara sat near the back in her scholarship blazer. She went nowhere near the middle rows anymore. And beside her, because Amara had insisted, in a plain dress with a cardigan over her work polo, sat her mother. That was new. That was Amara's doing. A small payment on a large debt. Mrs. Hale gave her farewell speech. She thanked the staff. She thanked the families. And then she set down her cards and looked out at the room, and something in her face made the hall go quiet. Before I go, I have to correct a story this school has been telling for 6 years. Every year, we toast our anonymous angel, the hardship fund that has kept 40 of our students in their classrooms, 40 children who are here tonight, some of them in this room, because of one donor. You have imagined that donor 1,000 ways. I know, because I've heard the guesses. A hedge fund, an old family. One of you. She smiled, and the smile had an edge of tears. For 6 years, that money has arrived in a plain brown envelope, slipped under my office door before dawn, by a woman on her way between her first job and her second. She swore me to silence, because she was afraid that if her name were known, someone would say her daughter hadn't earned her place at this school. Her daughter, who holds the highest scholarship average Westbrook has recorded in a decade. You could hear the room stop breathing. Beside Amara, very quietly, Ngozi said, "Oh, Margaret. No. I am no longer willing to keep that secret. Westbrook, your angel's name is Mrs. Ngozi Eze. She washes linens at Grady Memorial. She cleans offices before the sun comes up. And she has given more of herself to your children than anyone who has ever walked through those doors in silk." For one long second, nothing. The mind refuses at first, a thing it cannot fit. A room full of glitter learning that its gold had been riding the first bus of the morning all along. Then someone stood. And then everyone did. Ngozi sat very still in the storm of it, hands folded in her lap. Those hands, until Amara, weeping, helped her to her feet. "Mummy, stand up. Let them see you." The applause, when it finally found its shape, was not polite. It was ashamed. It was grateful. It was long. Mrs. Hale waited it out. Then she said one last thing, straight past the chandeliers, and it landed on every person in that hall. Gold that glitters for strangers is so often glass. A parent's love is the only gold that doesn't need to shine. Do not make my mistake, Westbrook. I nearly retired without checking which one I'd been toasting. Somewhere near the back, a girl in a scholarship blazer heard the words she had been living for 3 months said out loud to everyone she had ever tried to impress. Here is what didn't happen next. There was no montage where everything mended overnight. Vindication is public, forgiveness is private, and it keeps different hours. Ngozi accepted the honor with grace, thanked Mrs. Hale, scolded her a little too. You promised me, Margaret. I did. Terrible of me. Retirement gift to myself. And was at the bus shelter the next morning at 4 because 40 children were not going to fund themselves. What changed was who stood beside her. You don't have to come, Amara. It's cold and it's ugly work. You've been doing it for 16 years. I'm used to it. Then I'll get used to it too. Amara had asked for the work, so she got the work. Saturdays first, then dawn rounds in the school holidays. She learned what 3 office buildings before 6 actually means in the knees and the shoulders. She learned the weight of a mop bucket and the weight of an envelope. She learned that her whole gleaming education had been carried up flights of stairs in the dark, one shift at a time, by a woman who never once complained where she could hear it. And one night, unprompted, she took the little cocoa butter tin from the nightstand, sat on the edge of her mother's bed, the way she used to as a small girl, and reached for those chapped hands. What are you doing? Shh, give me your hand. She worked the cream in, knuckle by knuckle, saying nothing, until her mother laughed softly. The hands will survive, you know. I know. Give me the other one. The hands she had been ashamed of. It turned out you could love a thing exactly as fiercely as you had once feared it. And the fear would owe you the difference. As for the Duras, the mansion went to the creditors, the Range Rover went back, and the name that had ruled the pickup line was not spoken at Westbrook again, except as a warning. Vivian learned what borrowed light costs when the lender calls it in. Everything, all at once, with the whole audience watching. That was the sentence, and no one could commute it, because you cannot give back glitter. It was never yours. But Kemi had been a child in a stage set, and children are innocent of their scenery. It was Ngozi, quietly, who found out where she'd landed, and Ngozi's envelope, a different one, with a name on it this time, that made sure a bright girl's education didn't die for her father's sins. Amara delivered it herself. Why would she do this? Kemi whispered, staring at it. After everything. Why would your mum? Because that's what gold does, Amara said. It doesn't need the light. Some debts you repay by paying them forward. And in June, at the end-of-year assembly, when a visiting parent leaned toward Amara and asked, pleasantly, "And which one is your mum?" Amara didn't flinch, didn't calculate, didn't check who was listening. She pointed at the woman in the plain cardigan with the beautiful, ruined, magnificent hands. "This is my mum," she said. "The best one in the building." Same 3 words. But this time they were true, and this time they cost her nothing, because she finally knew what they were worth. Gold that glitters for strangers is so often glass. A parent's love is the only gold that doesn't need to shine. And if you're lucky, truly lucky, you learn that while the gold is still alive to hear you say it. If this story reached you, there's someone you should send it to. Maybe someone whose hands did the quiet work that built you. Subscribe and stay close. Because the world keeps mistaking glitter for gold, and I'll keep telling the stories of the day everyone finds out the difference.